All right, welcome. How about that ending? Does it not get any more uh bizarre than that? Um just unbelievable, to be honest. I just all the way down. They should have told the officials should have told Old Miss that they um in all reality, they should have told them that they needed to touch the ball for the game to be over. Appreciate all the new people. If you're new to the channel and enjoy the content, like the banter back and forth, do us the biggest favor: hit that like and subscribe button. Also, the phone number is on the ticker below. Um, Appreciate that, especially all the folks that tuned in and hung out on the watch party. I thought that was fascinating. Um, just unbelievable stuff. Um, I can't believe that they would have it done like that. Um, have it hard done in for. Just it's just like, come on, guys, just get the damn, get the get the damn um game over. It's just fascinating, to be honest. I think we can go through the stats and talk it out and whatever you guys want to talk about from today. We can talk Ole Miss, Georgia. We can talk anything you want. Um, so there's that. Also, phone number is on the ticker below. Um, Number to call 260-255-4069. Let me get the iPad up and rolling. So the iPad is plugged in, ready to go. And we can jump to some ESPN stats, go over the stats from that game we just watched. I mean, I would say, oh, you want to talk some Indiana, Alabama? What of a joke that was. Alabama gets waxed. I know some people hate to hear that, but that's just kind of what it is. But um, just the insanity of the last, I don't know, 10 minutes of the ending of that game. Um, it's just, it was just bizarre. Some other stuff that was going on. I thought that they should have told them about there being a second on the clock. Um, that's just, you know, I look at that and I just think to myself, like, what are you doing? Um, Also, they just cannot not talk about Kiffin. Um, Ole Miss Sugar Bowl champs. Unbelievable. They got Pete Golding on the podium right now. There's all kinds of stuff to go over as far as stat wise. Um, Appreciate everybody who has joined and tuned in today. Also, for all you folks on Twitter, you can come on over to YouTube and get that going. But yeah, so phone line is open. Number to call 260-255-4069 is the number to call. Appreciate everybody. Ole Miss is Sugar Bowl champions. Yeah, Lane Kiffin is definitely going to hear about this one. Not shocked by that at all, to be honest. But realistically, you ain't really got to bring that that guy in here because it's all about him. So, what in the hell is going on? I guess there was a big fight at the Texas Tech Oregon game that I'm seeing highlights of right now. Some guy just does like a cannonball into a group of people. Very interesting times. So there's that. Rebels win the Sugar Bowl on a kick. I just can't believe that. Also, fascinating news. LSU's got to pay Kiffin $500K. So there's that. Also, I guess we'll dive into the stats of it. Trinidad Chambliss gets an award. There is all kinds of streamers and stuff everywhere. Pete Golding, basically doing the whole thing after winning the Sugar Bowl, the whole media thing. Keith Carter on the stage. All the guys. I think this Ole Miss team has been resilient all year. Took the punches when they came. Trinidad Chambliss. Unbelievable. So they got a date in the desert with Miami. Pete gets to hold the Sugar Bowl trophy up. So I think it's a look ahead. Indiana's dismantling of Alabama. If you call me unknown, I am not going to answer. The unknown calls are blocked, so there's that. But so just looking for some more stuff. As an Alabama fan, I will be rooting for Oregon to beat Indiana next week. Hey, it happens, man. It happens. We've been on the pod a lot today. 2 watch parties. Now we're just doing the post-game show. I just think it's bizarre. What a great finish. Congrats. So Lane didn't go, but his family did. Why would you? I don't know why Lane would even post that. I really don't. But ain't nobody gives a rat's ass about none of that. So we're here to talk the Rebels win, everything that's gone on with Ole Miss. They got Pete Golding on SportsCenter right now with SVP. Also, phone line is open. Number to call, 260-255-4069. If you want to call, go ahead and jump in. Alabama got outcoached and outclassed in every single aspect of the game. Embarrassing. Yeah, that is true. Indiana put belt to ass on them. 38-3, only mustering up a field goal. When I thought Alabama would score, it was very interesting seeing what Ross Dellinger's got. I hope that Alabama will be better next year than the team they have right now this year. Oh, yeah, I'm sure there's going to be more changes on the roster. But look, at the Alabama juncture here, and I know some people are going to probably want to turn me off after I say this, but at the end of the day, Kalen DeBoer lost 40 scholarship kids when Saban retired. Alabama hasn't been a complete team. That's the big thing. They haven't been a complete team. You look at Ole Miss. Ole Miss has been, they have a complete team. And what also doesn't look good is Pete Golding gets this team that was trailing at halftime, and he brings them all the way back. I mean, regardless of whatever crackerjack ending you want to call that, which was ridiculous, but whatever, to the game. But when you look at it, Trinidad Chambliss, 30 of 46, 362 yards, 2 touchdowns. Keywan Lacey, 22 carries, 99 yards. Ole Miss overall had 200, or not 200, but 27 carries for 111. Harrison Wallace, 9 catches, 156 yards, 1 touchdown. And the kick to send it into overtime, unbelievable. Or not overtime, to win the game. Ole Miss's kicker could probably ask for $1 million in the portal if he wanted to. And oh yeah, by the way, that opens, or the transfer portal is technically open now. So I'm sure there's all kinds of phone calls being made, and I think it's going to get interesting to see what teams have current players going. And that's what I'm finding. That's what I'm going to find interesting and stuff. So there's that. But we'll go over to the team stats. It was fairly even. Simpson's not a good quarterback for Alabama. I think Alabama is going to make changes at the quarterback position, regardless of what anyone says. I think. And so I just feel like that's probably what's going to happen. I'm looking for something here, but on the Alabama side of it, it's not looking good. Not a positive outlook, I will say that. But yeah, we got the post game rolling. Also, phone lines open if you want to call. Go ahead and get your call in. Number to call, 260-255-4069. I think the story should be the kicker. Ole Miss's kicker tonight. Unbelievable, spectacular. And you could argue it that Ole Miss left some plays out there on the field. They left points out there. Pete chased points in the first half, and then the 2-point conversion. Also, you could be very critical of that. And then also you could be critical of, I mean, it's all right because Indiana is not going to be back in the playoffs next year. Hey, that's your comment. I'm not ruling anything out when it comes to that, because who knows what Indiana's going to do in the portal right now. So it'll be very, very interesting. Chambliss, amongst various other applications, is doing all kinds of stuff right now. So there is that. What do they have running right now? But anyway, Ole Miss 5 of 14 on third down. Georgia 3 of 13 on third down. I think that tells a bigger story than anything. Georgia's third down inefficiency, although they were 2 of 3 on fourth down, but they really, really needed it. Ole Miss was 1 of 2. Trinidad Chambliss out-duels Gunnar Stockton, averaged 7.9 yards per pass attempt. Gunnar Stockton, 6.7. Neither one of them turned the ball over. No interceptions by either one of those gentlemen tonight. But Stockton, Alabama's going to fire Ryan Grubb as offensive coordinator. Maybe, I don't know. That's kind of DeBoer's guys. so awesome. They're playing Ghosts of Ole Miss on 30 for 30 tonight. After Ole Miss wins, ESPN, you'd never cease to amaze me. Never, ever. Because last night they played the U part 1 and 2. Imagine that. But as far as rushing the ball, Georgia ran it more tonight, but Ole Miss was more effective with it. Penalties, relatively equal. They didn't come at equal times. Ole Miss had the penalties at the end of the game, I thought were critical. The 2 PIs, 4 penalties, 48 yards. Georgia, 4 penalties, 38 yards. Both teams tonight lost fumbles. So comparatively, but I think one of the biggest things is that Ole Miss they hung in there when Georgia was throwing the kitchen sink at them, and that's one thing that makes this team resilient. And we'll go back to the box score for Ole Miss. I thought Chambliss played outstanding. Ryan Grubb doesn't deserve to come back after that terrible play calling he did today. I'm going to rewatch the game because doing a watch party, you don't really get to sit there and lock in and watch it. But Harrison Wallace, unbelievable. I mean, that kid has one of the bigger plays. I would say that's one of the biggest plays in Ole Miss school history as far as playoffs wise. So I know some people will probably want to argue about that, but I think that's one of the bigger plays in the school's history. So you have that, and then we can always flip on over to the Georgia. Gotcha. Kalen DeBoer needs to be in the hot seat. Yeah. We'll see what that has to do with it. Hold on, I'm sending a message because for Alabama's defense played soft today. Yeah, I mean, some people could say Alabama's defense played soft, but realistically, is Indiana that good? So you have that. So I guess we'll see where this whole thing shakes out, but it's going to be an interesting deal, to say the least. I'm just looking. Well, DJ Lagway has now officially entered the transfer portal, so there is that if anyone cares. But phone line is open. Number to call, 260-255-4069. If you missed if you didn't catch the number, it's on the ticker below. And we're just going over Ole Miss, Georgia, Alabama, Indiana. Does anybody really care about Texas Tech, Oregon? What do you got for me here? Alabama's lost today in their college footballs to Indiana should go down as history as the worst loss ever in college football. I think that's a little bit of an understatement. But Indiana is the number 1 overall seed, so I think there is something to be said about that. So I sent the Alabama students might throw stuff at Alabama's head coach when they get back home because they're so mad. That I don't know. Hopefully not. This is a glorious day for Ole Miss's athletic director, Keith Carter, I will say. So we'll see. I'm just looking at the officially opened transfer portal as Ole Miss and all of their folks are hanging out, and you know what the players are doing? They're down there thanking the students for making I think it's a 5 to 6 hour trip over there to Louisiana. What do we have here? DeBoer might need a lot of security going back to Alabama after that loss today. Yeah, the Alabama fan base is pissed. So, just judging what I've gathered, they are not happy. But I think the story, for all intents and purposes, is great on the Ole Miss side of things because it's about the players and it's about the team. I think some people lost sight of that for 2 months, and then now it's back. I think it's fascinating, to say the least, that Kiffin packs up and leaves town, and Pete Golding goes out there and wins with them, and Lane Kiffin couldn't. So there's that. Also, programming update. I think we're going to go live tomorrow night. Rich will probably join at some point. We'll have Rich on the program, probably do a little bit of a longer show, talk a lot of playoffs, and then also probably open the phone lines if people want to call in. I know it's Friday night, but yeah, Kewan Lacey, hell of a game. Harrison Wallace, hell of a game. And the Harris kid on defense, 10 total tackles. Princewell had a hell of a game. The one thing I thought was interesting is Ole Miss got home on Gunnar Stockton. And Georgia actually wins the time of possession in this. So there is that. Also, as I'm going through it, we can look at the Georgia stat line. The one thing that I think people are going to forget is that's why throughout the live stream, I was saying, where is Zachariah Branch? Point him out. You have to know where he's at. He's a dynamic player. So there is that. Where am I? Oh, the fake punt tonight by Georgia. The Frazier kid, 15 carries, 86 yards. Gunnar Stockton, with the sacks in there. But Zachariah Branch, 8 catches for 67 yards. Frazier, also, that's kind of a problem for Georgia. Colby Young, only 3 catches, 33 yards. But if you watched the pregame show with Reese Davis and Desmond and all them, I'm pretty sure they all picked Georgia. Georgia's just got to throw it all over the yard on Ole Miss. No, they didn't really. Kind of, in my opinion, Ole Miss had issues tackling in space when it came to Zachariah Branch, some of the other things that were going on. But I thought the Frazier kid ran hard as hell for Georgia. Gunnar Stockton, you can't take anything away from him. I think he could have played better, but he's not going to stand back there and throw the ball 50 times. That's not his game. It's get the ball in space, don't turn it over, and make the plays when you need to. Some people want to, quote unquote, call that game manager, but whatever. But also, I think Ole Miss started slow on offense, and then also the Kewan Lacey fumble. This is, from my little knowledge of the Ole Miss fan base, this was here we go again. Here we go again. I think Ole Miss completely the boneheaded not getting out of bounds to mess up the field goal. I think you could. I don't know if that's on Pete, but it's mistakes. And I think you're going to have to bring your best game up against Miami. I don't care what anybody says. You're going to have to bring your best stuff against Carson Beck, in which Pete Golding's already beat Carson Beck. So I'm not saying Carson Beck is the worst player in the world, blah, 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 blah. But Beck is he's playing really well right now. And I'm not demeaning, but I wonder if they have lines on that game right now. I bet they do. I'll be interested to see what Indiana, Georgia is, or not Indiana, Georgia. Indiana, Oregon, if they have lines out. College football semifinals. Ole Miss, 3.5 points. Indiana is minus 3.5, or Ole Miss is plus 2.5. The Rebels were 3.5 as well. They just moved that spread a whole point. So that's compliments of the FD, but there's kind of that. They said we couldn't do it. Lane said we couldn't do it. LSU said we couldn't do it. Oh, yeah. Totally agree with you, man. Totally agree. Lane Kiffin thought he was bigger than the team, and in fact, Lane Kiffin was not bigger than the team. Also, phone line is open. If you want to call, go ahead and get your call in. The number to call, 260-255-4069. And Scott comes in with, LOL, can we admit Alabama was the worst team in the quarterfinals? Yeah, I think so. Outside of execution, I think Ohio State had the most talented roster, and Ryan Day squandered it. I know some people will say, oh, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Yeah. Well, they didn't beat Miami. Also, with Ole Miss and that kick, something else I would like to bring up is that egregious face mask that was missed. I think that for Ole Miss fans, that was just like trauma. So that face mask kind of technically, and then that bad PI call, you when you think about it, it definitely was it doesn't matter, it's irrelevant, you won the game. So I think folks can breathe a little easier now, but I do love that comment there. But also, phone line is open. Texas Tech would have beat Bama. That's pretty bold, Scott. They didn't score a point today, but Alabama only scored a field goal, so there's that for all intents and purposes. But the Wallace catch in the fourth quarter was unbelievable. And then the kick. What a send it to the quarterfinals, a date in the desert with Carson Beck. Phone line is open if you want to call and offer some of your commentary as well. Number to call, 260-255-4069 is the number to call if you want to hop in. So, yeah, I think it's fascinating. And you know what Pete Golding did? He got up there, accepted the trophy, said some words, got off the stage. And you know who got to be front and center for this Ole Miss team? The players, the team. It's not about the will he or won't he, the will he or won't he. All that's over with. He made his decision. He's gone. I think it's going to get weird with Charlie Weiss being on the staff and Ole Miss with the transfer portal open. I could see where Ole Miss fans could be critical of that. But Charlie Weiss, for all intents and purposes, I think one of the worst drives he had was when they got the ball back with 7 minutes left, and they just instantly went 3 and out. I think Wallace, Chambliss, Lacey, top performers on the offense today. Just unbelievable performances out of those guys. I just feel like what you're going to see next is, can Ole Miss's defense stack up with the Miami offensive line, but outside of that, it was a thrilling day or a thrilling night game. I think the night game was the best game all of the entire day. Ole Miss, just a masterclass in resiliency, toughness, and sticking to the plan, in my opinion. Some people will probably disagree. That's just kind of my thoughts and opinions on it. But I'll turn it over to you guys. iPad's open. Phone line is open. So if you guys want to call, go ahead and hop in. Come on in. The water is fine over here. So I just enjoy what Ole Miss has going. I think it's outstanding that the team is the front and center. The team is the story. The players are the story. And also, Ole Miss had a young man that had tragically passed away before the season even started. And you can tell me there's all kinds of storylines on this team, but Lane Kiffin had it locked down and wouldn't let anybody tell any of those stories. So there's that. What do we got here, Scott? I'm glad Ole Miss put down the old dog, but looking at those players, they looked awful tired. It'll be interesting to see if they can keep up the high energy against Miami. Well, the big thing with Miami is going to be it's going to be how does Ole Miss stack up off their defensive line versus their offensive line. That's going to be the big one. So yeah, there's that. Also, I got to throw that link in there. Also, if you want to call, go ahead and call in. Also, phone line is open. Number to call, 260-255-4069. As I'm going back to the Georgia stuff, I thought it was fascinating to say the least. Frazier being their second leading receiver. Bobo did a bunch of he would just clear out the center of the field and just get that there. As I'm watching some of the bowl game or some of the post game coverage that ESPN has on, they got the Bill Mallory graphic up there. He won 2 bowl games. Lee Corso won a bowl game. Now Kirk Cignetti has won a bowl game. And a lot of people hating on the Hoosiers, but there's kind of that. Also, we can do that. Ty Simpson, abysmal day. Fernando Mendoza really didn't have to do too much. Indiana ran for 215 yards on them. So there's that. Also, big shout out to everybody who hung in there today. It was a long day. If you watched all the content that that I put out today, it was a long day, but we do it for the fans. That's why the phone line is open. Number to call, 260-255-4069 is the number to call. So we got that. Interesting stuff. Just sending a couple of texts out. Very interesting. Very, very interesting stuff, to say the least. See what we got going. Also, the Hurricanes are around the corner. Kirby and the Dogs, their season comes to an end. I felt Georgia fans were oddly comfortable with how confident they were. Over 730 players in the transfer portal. Just kind of a tough go of it, I would say. for the most part. So that's kind of where we're at. Just looking at some stuff, getting that done. Appreciate everybody. So there's that. We're about at 35 minutes, and calls are light tonight, so there's that. I'll send out one more retweet, and we could probably call it a night after all of that. I think it kept you on the edge of the seat all day. I think that it was a masterclass on don't quit. So send out one more retweet, and then we'll probably give it about 5 minutes, and then we'll close up shop for the evening. So we'll have to see. Miami's got a date with Florida, 22 official players in the portal. Rocco Becht is crystal balled to Penn State. Imagine that. So I know everybody's shocked on that one. LSU paying Lane Kiffin another $250K. So that's kind of where that's at. I'm sure the LSU folks are overly thrilled about that. As I'm looking at some other stuff here, but Kewan Lacey and Trey Wallace and those dudes being the story finally. What do we have here? Got that done. Yep, we'll have watch parties for all of that tomorrow. Also 100 people watching on Twitter. Appreciate all 100 of you. You guys can come on over to the YouTube side of things, and if you want to call in, more than happy to. Georgia has won 53 straight games when leading at halftime. Ooh, wow. That's an interesting stat. Also, Trinidad Chambliss, no Division I offers. Ooh, I don't deserve this. Josh Pate with some stuff. Number to call, 260-255-4069 is the number to call. We're creeping up close. CFP wins. Ole Miss 2. Lane Kiffin 0. Kiffin is so last year. Oh, wow. Those were some of the signs in the crowd. Ouch, that hurts. That guy, oh, man. It's going to be a fascinating thing. Also, all the game day people picking Georgia as well. Very, very fascinating, to say the least. Hell of a day or hell of a night for the Ole Miss folks. Appreciate everybody. Phone line is open. Number to call, 260-255-4069. Excuse me. Also, isn't it just good, as you know, for the Ole Miss fan base to get back to just being about wins and losses in the football, none of the will he or won't he, or seeing the damn dog on the field. That's not even his. So, whatever. Not going to complain too much about it, but had a good run this evening. 2 watch parties and a post game show. So your boy is getting a little tired, but also phone lines open. Number to call 260-255-4069. I guess we've been rolling for 40 minutes, but just looking at some of this portal news stuff and trying to get some things up. Ole Miss tweets how sweet it is, and they got Josh Pate. Uh-oh. Yeah, they got Pate with the Golding with the eyes. Yeah, it's interesting stuff, to say the least. But we've been at it about 40 minutes. Calls are light, so I think we're going to go ahead and shut it down for tonight. Also, if you're new to the channel or discover the channel, we normally go at 7:30, 8-ish, somewhere in there. That's what we typically do. And just figured I would throw it out there. We'll be live tomorrow, probably around 7:30, 8-ish, probably watching some hoops and talking to you guys, going over some stuff, and see if my boy Rich is going to join. So with that, hell of a Sugar Bowl, way to cap the night, holiday week or holidays, ring in the new year with one of the greatest games all year. So with that, we'll jump on out of here. Appreciate everybody. Do us the biggest favor, hit that like and subscribe button. I got some video editing I got to do, and that's just the nature of the beast. We've been on for close to 5.5 hours, 6 hours today. So I appreciate all you guys who tune in, and we will see you tomorrow night. Have a good night, everybody. Happy New Year.